One here, coming at you with the top 5 best decks of the April 1st format. Now, obviously, we had the ban list, which wasn't great because they missed some stuff, but we can still talk about what the best decks are. Also, we are still in quarantine, so Yu-Gi-Oh! Is on hold for a month, but you can still test the best decks of the format on YGO Pro and Dueling Book. So, I thought, seeing as we still know what we can still test, seeing as we still got the ban list on April 1st, we could talk about the top 5 best decks of the April 1st format, even though we're all stuck indoors and can't really do much other than test online. But nonetheless, we can still talk about them, we can still test them, and we can still have fun with them. So yeah, guys, today we're going to be talking about the top 5 best decks of the April 1st format, because I feel like I have cracked the code and figured out what the best decks of this format are. And yeah, we're going to be looking at them, we're going to be talking about them, and we're going to have some fun talking about them as well, you know, just giving my thoughts and opinions. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it, because obviously we're going to be going into Master Rule 5 here, and obviously as well, hell, we have got so much stuff that could potentially happen, but I feel like these decks are going to be the best. So, without further ado, and me stop yammering on, let's get into it. So, at number 5, what do I think the 5th best deck of the April 1st format is? Well, it is going to be Pendulum variants, yes. Basically, we're going into Master Rule 5, and I've been looking at different variants of Pendulums, thinking what are good, what are bad, and I've actually come to the conclusion that Pendulum is actually really strong in Master Rule 5. Like, even though they didn't get the release from the extra deck, like Fusion, Xyz, and Synchro, the deck still has a lot of different variants that can do so many things, and can still abuse the fact that you can summon as many Xyz monsters as you want, as many Synchro monsters as you want, as many Fusion monsters as you want, because the deck kind of did rely on those cards to begin with to be able to summon into these multiple different areas. And because of that, I feel like the deck's actually going to do really strong, seeing as there are still multiple different variants that can abuse this system. Like, for instance, Draco Powers. Draco Powers actually get a really big boost coming back into Master Rule 5, because Draco Powers was always a deck that relied heavily on spamming Xyz, Synchros, and Fusions, such as Ignista, Dynamista, and also the Magispector one, which names I actually can't remember, but you get the point. Like, the deck relied on spamming those, making dragon combos, and also the deck has more stuff as well, thanks to like actual dragon cards coming out, such as the Heretic Spheres. The deck can actually pump out Hope Harbinger and other cards along those lines with Greatest of These as well. So the deck actually has a lot of potential with that as well. With Draco Powers, it can access a rank 8 engine, can access a rank 4 engine, it can access Synchros with Ignista and Omega. Like, the deck actually does abuse those things, and also we're also looking at other Pendulum variants, such as the Endymion Mythical Beast variant, that is actually still really strong. When I look at that, I see so much potential. Like, looking at that variant, I can see them abusing stuff like Union Carrier to be able to place the Buster Whelp card into the spell and trap card zone, locking your opponent out of their extra deck, along with like 2 free negates so they can't actually play the game. I can also see potential plays with Apex Avian and Mist Valley Thunderbird, because they didn't ban Mist Valley Thunderbird. Like, you get excuse me. You can have the Infinite Negate board in Pendulums if you draw the Apex Avian. If you don't draw the Apex Avian, you're not really going to do much with it. But having a 4-card engine in a deck that says, oh, I draw Apex Avian, I Pendulum summon 3 monsters, make Union Carrier, have Apex Avian, Infinite Negate, Infinite. I can't stop. I can't stop. And also, on top of that, we also have other stuff in Pendulum already, such as the Mythical Beast cards with Jackal giving us negates there. We have cards like Mighty Master of Magic that also give us more negates there. We have Magician's Souls that actually boosts Pendulum, the Endymion build, quite a bit, because like you send the Mythical Beasts to the graveyard and then just summon the Magician's Souls. And also you can send like dead spell cards in your hand to the graveyard to then draw more cards. Like, the deck is, Pendulums have always been very consistent, and also the deck also has the new Selene card, which is the Link monster that has 3 down point arrows, giving the deck even more potential. So, looking at Pendulum this format, I think Pendulum just has so many different variants and so much power. Like, it can do so much, seeing as you have the Magicians that give you access to Synchros and rank 4 players. You have the Endymions that give you to big negate boards with the Selene and also Magician's Souls. And also Apex Avion that can be accessed in the deck with Thunderbird and Union Carrier. And also playing like Draco Powers that gives you the rank 8, rank 4 toolbox / synchro plays. Like, just looking at all these all the different Pendulum variants out there, I would be surprised if these variants didn't actually show up in the meta a lot and weren't the best, because I can actually see them doing a lot, being that Pendulum's Avoid has been a very dumb mechanic, and they still could potentially do a lot of broken things in the game. But hey, I've talked enough about Pendulums at number 5. Let's actually start going into other areas with the 4th best deck of this format, which I think is actually Dinosaurs. And there's a couple of reasons for this. One being, Lithosagem exists. Like, Lithosagem in general and other True Kings being able to, like, trigger the babies to get more consistency, just insane, giving you turn 1 VFD plays, is absolutely nuts. Like, honestly, what's bad about that? What's bad about making VFD turn 1? Like, that's just one point why Dinosaurs are the best, because literally they can make VFD turn 1 without any issues thanks to the True Draco, to the True King cards. The Dinosaur engine in general is just very consistent because, like, all I've got to do to play the game is summon UTC, summon a VFD, look at my opponent. Come on. And also the deck has a lot of very consistency, is very consistent as well, seeing as actually, now that with Master Rule 5 rocking in, you can actually do a lot more in Dinosaurs as well. You can not only just make your VFD turn 1, which is already dumb as is, but you can also make stuff like Lagia and Dolka the same turn you make VFD. Seeing as if you activate Lithosagem, popping at least one baby, you can summon Lithosagem from the hand. Baby will summon a Solar Eating Oviraptor from the deck. Then you get to search like a, I don't know, any level 4 dinosaur, Giant Rex, Miscellaneousaurus, normal summon it, and then if you have another True King, then you can always just summon that True King as well, and then you have access into pretty much your VFD plus rank 4 play. And also, if you have stuff in the graveyard, other dinosaur monsters, which you most likely will, then if you've got a UTC access too, then you can summon Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, giving you access to stop your opponent from being able to play the game. So not only do you have a summon / spell negate, which would be Lagia, not only do you have VFD that says you can't activate any monster effects on the field or attack with monsters, but you also have a UTC that can set your opponent's entire board. Like, looking at Dinosaurs this format, I can just see them being very strong overall, because the deck actually is very consistent, being that all it really needs is to open one Fossil Dig or one Lithosagem / True King to actually play the game. And even with a baby, like True King plus baby normally equals full combo and just means that you're going to end on some dumb board. Or even going second, which the deck primarily does, then it literally just OTKs your opponent with Ultimate Conductor Tyranno and anything else that the deck can make. So looking at it overall, I feel like Dinosaurs is going to be very strong this format. Just for the fact that it has stuff like Lithosagem, Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, they can XCs more monsters into the main monster zone, which was the deck's only real issue. It couldn't really focus on XCs plays, because it needed to even focus on one XCs monster. So it's very cool. It's going to be very strong, this format overall, and that's what I'm liking about it. I feel like it's going to be a very strong deck. But yeah, that's number 4. Let's go on to number 3 now. So at number 3, I'm thinking Salamangreats is going to be the 3rd best deck. Now, obviously Salamangreats are very strong. They've won a lot more events. They've done a lot more in the format than most. But I don't feel like they're going to be the best deck. Now, obviously the deck is still very consistent. It took no hits on the list and even got a buff with free Pot of Avarice, being able to recycle, any of your Sunlight Wolves, any of your Graveyards, any of your Gazelles, Spinnies, anything along those lines. And sure, that is a thing. The deck did gain a big buff thanks to Master Rule 5. But, and also due to the ban list. But I feel like the deck is still kind of weak and its turn 1 boards don't really facilitate a lot. And it does OTK very well going second. But I feel like it has its issues, and that's why I feel like it's the third best deck, but it's still going to be better than Pendulum and Dinosaurs, purely because it's very much more consistent than those decks. Having access to stuff like Summon Great Circle, Lady Debug, Buff Buffalo, Silent Mining, Son of a Great Circle. I know I probably resaid one of those twice. The deck has so much consistency. Plus, even though it has, with all that consistency, the deck can run tons of hand traps, which Pendulums and Dinosaurs can't really do alongside. Sure, Dinosaurs can run a decent amount of hand traps, like they can run like Ash Blossom and Impermanence, but they can't, and they can also run like the Kaiju, the Dinosaur Dogoran Kaiju, but Salamangreat Great can run up to like 12 hand traps at times, and because of that, along with all the consistency that the deck has, I feel like the deck is still more powerful than those two, because going first or second is very important in Yu-Gi-Oh! And with Salamangreat Great being able to maintain tons of hand traps that will allow them to go second easier, with them also having very consistent turn 1 boards, which literally just end on normally 2 traps and a Sunlight Wolf, they're going to be better, and also going second, they can literally just go into all these kinds of different combos, such as rank 3 plays, which are even easier now thanks to the extra monster, the main monster zones being open to Xyz monsters. They can go into link plays, such as like Appaloosa and stuff turn 1 as well, which they're not really going to do too often because of Appaloosa isn't their main end goal. They normally want to end on like Salamangreat Great, Sunlight Wolf that's been linked into itself, so they have the traps activated, but they want to end on like traps, hand traps, and also Sunlight Wolf, which the deck can do very easily. So even though it's kind of got its weaknesses, which compared to like Dinosaurs and Pendulums, I feel like just because the deck can go second a lot easier and it also has a lot more consistency, it's just going to be better overall, because a deck like this is actually very easy to play, and decks like these that are easy to play normally do tend to be very strong and very good. And seeing as it can go first and second as well, does kind of give it a boost in my opinion too. So Salamangreat Great's at number 3. It may not be the smartest choice, but from what Salamangreat Great has shown in the past, and we all know what it can do and how it can just go first or second very easily, I just personally think it is going to be the third best deck. But hey, that is Salamangreat Great. Let's go on to number 2 though. So number 2, I feel like is going to be pretty much any Dragon Link variant. The Rocket variant, I don't think the 3-axis variant works anymore without Destrudo, but hey, it could still work. Any literally Guard Dragon variant in the game is still going to be very strong. Thanks to LP not being banned, the deck is actually still really strong. It's able to do everything it was able to do last format pretty much, just minus the Destrudo. Like, hell, do you even need Destrudo to play the game properly in that deck? Like, so the deck has still got everything it had before minus Destrudo, and because of that, I feel like the deck is still going to be really strong. Like, everything it did last format, making like Appaloosa's turn 1, like the deck did lose like a Danger Tsuchinoko and a Danger Jackalope, but let's be honest, you can just replace those with like Danger Mothmans and stuff like that if you still want to be playing some of the Danger cards. So it doesn't really matter if they lost those cards, but I feel like the Rocket variant will also be the better variant, purely because the Rocket variant is just, it's a lot easier to play. It plays a lot more Dragon accessible cards, plus also it does everything that the other build did, just a lot easier. And obviously with that in tow, there are also other reasons why this deck is going to be probably better than most of these other decks, and that's because with Master Rule 5 kicking in, the deck doesn't have any restrictions. You can go into as many Synchro and Xyz monsters you want, as long as you meet the requirements. Like, you can make like double Borreloads. You could make a Borreload Savage Dragon, a Hope Harbinger, a Ding Girsu, any monster that you're able to potentially make from the extra deck is possible to make now, because the deck actually is no longer restricted by the Master Rule mechanic. And I feel like that's going to be a big change for the deck, because like the deck has always been able to make really big dumb boards with like Appaloosa, Hope Harbinger, Boros Savage, like any big negate board, maybe, and Ding Girsu as well. And the deck's been able to do this really easily throughout the game, without any real issues. And now that the game has actually kind of shifted into Master Rule 5, I feel like they're going to be making even better boards, seeing as they don't even need Link monsters now. to go even further. Now, obviously, we're also going to see the errata of Red Air's Darkness Metal Dragon soon, which will hinder the deck, but we first have to get that errata. So until then, I feel like this deck will actually be really, really strong. Being able to just abuse the extra deck, being able to just abuse the Guard Dragon engine, to summon out more Guard Dragons, to summon out more Dragons in general, to abuse Dragons overall, to make broken boards with like Appaloozas, Hope Harbingers, Boros Savages, potentially Dwellers as well. Like, you can definitely make a Dweller in that deck and then still have that access as well. Like, you can end on some really dumb boards in that deck with just like infinite negate potential, and I feel like that is going to be very strong, and because of that I could see this deck being really good in Master Rule 5. But yeah, that's number 2. So what do I think is going to be the best deck out of all of these though? What personally do I feel like is going to be the best deck of this format? And in my personal opinion, that is Shadow Invoked. Now, Shadow Invoked are an insane deck. The deck is good going first or second for multiple different reasons, and I'm going to get into those. And the deck has just lost nothing on the ban list overall, meaning it's still at full power and still able to play. It's still got 3 Super Poly. Sure, it lost 1 Mind Control, so you can't really main 2 Mind Control in the deck anymore, but Mind Control isn't necessary to play the game. It was just a little extra card to give you like, oh, I'm going to steal your card so I can literally go for game easier. But hell, if you don't need Mind Control to do that, because you still got triple Super Poly. You've got now even more boosts with Pot of Avarice. Like, literally, any deck that can play Pot of Avarice at free should be playing Pot of Avarice at free, because the deck, like, it says draw 2 for free. If your deck can use it turn 1 by dumping tons of cards, play it up free. And Shadows is one of those decks that can actually do that. So, like, Shadows also have other reasons to why they're one of the best decks, literally the best deck of this format in my opinion, and that's because the biggest hindrance Shadows had was the fact that they had to summon to the extra monster zone. That was the biggest hindrance that the deck actually had in this format. And looking at what we're into now, because Shadow Invoked literally don't care, we can literally end on insane boards. Like, turn 1s, we can end on Winders, we can end on the level 4 Invoke. The name just always escapes me. I think it's like Imbuck or something. You can end on Winder and the Shadow, the name... The level 4 invoked monster, dark monster, that says you can only attack once and activate an effect once. You can end on that board a lot easier because you don't need the extra monster zone to rely on anymore. You can also end on boards with multiple Mechabas. Like, literally, you play Shadow Invoked and you want to make multiple Mechabas? Hey, you can make multiple Mechabas now with no issue. You know why? Because you don't need to rely on the extra monster zone. Hey, you want to make multiple constructs and then just attack your opponent again? Hey, you can make multiple constructs. Hey, you want to use Super Poly and summon Starving Venom without using your dark monsters? Hey, that Ekra monster zone doesn't need to be used anymore, so you can use Super Poly and do that. Like, a lot of the things in Shadow Invoked that were being held back was due to Master Rule 4, and now that we're entering Master Rule 5, we don't need to care about that anymore. You can literally summon as many fusion monsters into the main monster zones as you want, meaning you're not restricted at any point. You can abuse cards such as Cross Sheep to summon more monsters to gain more advantage. Yes, it's a link monster, but you don't need to rely on its arrows. You can make like any real fusion plays you want in the deck now without issue. You can rely on Super Poly even more now because literally, there were times where Super Poly was really bad for me, and because of that, I wasn't really able to do anything with it. So the way to adjust it, I had to I have to make a Link monster, then I hope they don't stop that Link monster, then I activate Super Poly, put the Starving Venom in the Link zone, but now we don't have to worry about that. So the deck is just still at full power, it's got no issues. The Invoked engine makes the deck even super consistent for like fusion plays in general. Shadow Fusion is just insane. The deck can go first and second. If it goes first, it's literally just going to end on a Winder and level 4 Invoked. I honestly can't remember its name. It's terrible, isn't it? But the deck can end on insane boards, and that's why the deck is still so strong. Like, literally, being able to end on boards that literally just say, you can only special summon once, you can only activate one monster effect, and you can only attack once, and I have an Alistair in hand, so if you attempt to attack, you're not doing anything. Or you can end on boards that literally just look at your opponent and be like, or you can literally just end on a board with like Dweller or something, and just say your opponent can't have a graveyard. So That's another thing that you could potentially do. It's not recommended, but yeah. But like literally, Shadow Invoked are insane in this format. They have a ton of consistency. Going second, Shadow Fusion is even more broken because you don't have to rely on the extra monster zone. You can OTK super easy in Shadow Invoked. You can end on negate boards. You can end on boards that say your opponent can't play the game. Like, I don't see why this deck wouldn't be the best deck, seeing as it's got a very consistent lockdown. It's very consistent OTK. It has very strong going second cards such as Super Polymerization, Shadow Fusion. It can even main cards like Evenly Matched as well if you really want to go that deep. And it's just really strong overall. But guys, that's the decks that I think are the best in the April 1st / Master Rule 5, Master Rule 2020 revision format. Tell me what you think of these decks in the comment section below. Do you think they're good? Do you think they're great? Do you think these are the best? Or do you have a different opinion to me? Like, honestly, I feel like Pendulums are going to be very strong. Dinosaur's definitely going to do a lot. Salamangreat, honestly, they will rear their head and they will still be really strong. Dragon Link, they're going to be good because they Master Rule 5 unlocks their entire extra deck. And Shadow's just become even stronger now thanks to the unlocking of the extra deck as well. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Check out the links in the description to see other things, maybe support me, all of that. And guys, we'll all survive this lockdown together. Just test online, try these decks, and believe me, these are all really strong. But guys, thanks so much for watching. Robot1 signing out. Later on.